When I think of Seed from Zenless Zone Zero, the first thing that come to mind usually are...
There you go, all better. He's not a mech.
all of her silliness makes it very easy to forget that her backstory is actually filled with, well...
You know, I've read a lot of books about death. Those books say death is a new beginning, a poem, a heroic song, or just a few words carved into a gravestone. But in those books, there's a word I like much more than death. Life.
So, in this video, we'll go over Seed and Seed Senior's insanely tragic backstory, her connection with the Pheathon siblings, and also why I think the way Zenless and other gacha games design their update schedule can kinda cause good and deep stories like this to go overshadowed. A big thank you to Einer4077 for asking I yap about this. We actually know very little about the girl we now know as Seed's time before she joined Obol Squad. We don't know when or where she was born, we don't know who her parents are, and we don't even know what she did in her earlier years. This is because she, just like the Pheathon siblings, comes from the still mysterious Helios Academy of Old Eridu. All that we know for sure is that her time at the Helios Academy was probably anything but fun, as during her time there, she was experimented on in probably horrible ways, and this likely caused her unique ability to control or even destroy machinery with just her mind, alongside causing her personality to be unique to say the least. As Seed seems to be very disconnected from the concepts of life and death. Like, she doesn't even know what it means to be alive or dead in the deeper, more personal sense, which is gonna cause a few more problems down the line, and honestly she needs therapy for it. But as with many characters in Zenless Zone Zero, everything changed when Hollow Zero expanded and swallowed up and destroyed the city of Old Eridu with the Helios Academy at its center. While Bell and Wise managed to escape with the help of their teacher Carol Arna, Seed was seemingly left behind and suffered from extreme amnesia ever since, so she also doesn't really know what happened. All we know for sure is that she spent half a month within Hollow Zero, presumably way longer than most if any other person due to the dangers of both ethereals and ether corruption. She seemingly stayed around the remnants of Helios Academy, as it was at the monument of the institution, where she was found by the military intelligence construct named Seed. The robot Seed was in Hollow Zero to look for any survivors to bring back, but to say he wasn't having any luck would be an understatement, as he mostly came across bodies and even more bodies. So when he came across this little girl who somehow survived unscathed for weeks, he knew he had to rescue her. But oddly enough, his system flagged this young girl as a extremely high-risk target and enacted the so-called Iron Order program within his logic core, forcing Seed to comply with the order to terminate her. Seed fought against the order and even managed to break through, freeing him from the control of the Iron Order program and saving the girl from a brutal and forgotten death. Seed brought the young girl back to a camp of the Eridu Defense Force, where the medic Veronica checked up on her health and found that she was doing good, all things considered, but has, as she described it, no heart, referring to her inability to understand life and death and a general lack of empathy, something even the big robot had. Seed, the big hulking robot, decided to adopt this girl as his own and named her Flora, starting their child and big robot friend relationship. Seed hoped to teach Flora more about life by means of botany and other fun hobbies, hoping that this would give her a so-called heart, finally. However, This happiness would be pretty short-lived, as by destroying the Iron Order program, Seed has irreversibly damaged his logic core and only had months to live, with him shutting down for long periods of time in the meantime, which he chalked up to being sleepy whenever Flora asked. Seed knew he was dying and, as a last resort, joined Obol Squad, as he knew this band of misfits, composed entirely of science projects at this point, could take care of Flora in his stead and keep his death a secret from his pretty fragile daughter. During his last weeks alive, Seed taught Flora how to use his cockpit to essentially pilot him when he's no longer there. When she, in her youthful innocence, asked if this is what it's like to be Seed, the robot man agreed, and this led to Flora inheriting his codename, Seed, thus making the OG Seed, Seed Senior. Before his passing, Seed Senior recorded a secret farewell message to his adoptive daughter, unlocked only when specific conditions were met. He also instructed the rest of Obol Squad to lie to Seed, saying Seed Senior was on a special mission and would be away for a while, unable to talk. Soldier 11 only added to this when she started using Seed Senior's phone to send text messages to Seed, seeing how much her robot dad meant to her. Thus, for the next few years, Seed would be working as the artillerist of Obol Squad, supporting Captain Magus, Orphe, Trigger, and Soldier 11 in their multiple combat assignments, piloting the now-dead intelligent construct Seed Senior. Seed would join the Pheathon siblings during the Porcelumex and Exaltis crisis in Waifei Peninsula. Upon meeting the two siblings, she would instantly feel some kind of familiarity with the two, but couldn't quite explain it due to her memory loss. After the crisis had settled, Seed would, surprising the rest of Obol Squad, go AWOL and set up a safe house in Hollow Zero of all places, where she would keep plants and very badly tend to them and cover the safe house with things that reminded her of Seed Senior, like their old sofa, as she was trying to come up with ways to bring him back from his special mission, even involving both Pheathon and the medic Veronica. It is during this storyline where, thanks to Veronica and her obsession with intelligent constructs, Seed finally learns that Seed Senior is dead and never coming back, with Veronica giving Seed the coordinates of the place where she and Seed Senior first met, the monument of Helios Academy, now surrounded by flowers planted by Seed Senior, and well, I better just show you what happens next.
Seed Senior, are you listening? I kept my promise, you know. Even Captain Magus and Dr. Veronica said I did a good job. I can take care of things now, all by myself. And look, I've grown taller. Even taller than those flowers in the hollow. See? Seed Senior? Why aren't you here? We made a promise, remember?
Special sample detected. Sodium and potassium ion concentrations match human tears. Now playing Seed's final message.
Sorry, Seed. I couldn't keep my promise. Forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye, but I couldn't bring myself to imagine how much the truth might hurt you, especially when you were still so young. Seed, where are you now? And what missions are you on these days? You must have grown a lot taller, huh?
Yeah, I have.
To be honest, I don't know when you'll hear this message. Maybe when you're sad, But while you're crying happy tears, the only thing I know for sure is, at this moment, Seed, if you can let those tears fall without holding them back, then to me, you've already become a flower in full bloom. You know, I've read a lot of books about death. Those books say death is a new beginning, a poem, a heroic song, or just a few words carved into a gravestone. But in those books, there's a word I like much more than death: life. Sadly, this is where I have to stop. But you'll keep going, so you'll get further and further away from me. At first, you won't even notice, and you won't look back. But that's okay. Don't be afraid. This isn't the end, because I found you, a seed named Flora. Don't be sad because of me. I've already achieved more than enough. The seed I planted has miraculously bloomed into a little flower. Congratulations. You've grown a heart of your own. So smile. But this is the best parting gift.
God, this cutscene never fails to give me goosebumps. Anyway, it's thanks to all of this that Seed is finally able to process the death of her adoptive father, and decides to uncover the reasoning behind the fall of the old capital alongside her friends. I think Seed, and to an extent Seed Senior's story, is one of the most gripping in Zenless Zone Zero, as it deals with so many things like the trauma of the fall of Old Eridu, the mystery of the Helios Academy, and the concept of intelligent constructs, all wrapped in one big child and their big robot friend package. Like, we still don't know any details about what Seed went through at Helios. But if we put together the fact that something was done to her brain which, 1. lets her control machinery, 2. messed up her personality, and 3. allowed her to survive Hollow Zero for weeks without any help, and the fact that the Pheathon siblings have extremely unique and plot-important eye implants and ether resistance to a certain extent, it really paints the picture that Helios Academy was maybe not the nicest place for most kids who were experimented on. Seed was probably a less successful subject than Pheathon, but it still all just rubs me the wrong way. But honestly, Seed's story with Helios Academy takes a massive backseat compared to her story with Seed Senior. It harkens back to classic child plus robot stories, like The Iron Giant and Big Hero 6, but it switches up the trope by making the robot the emotional one, teaching a emotionless human. Seed Senior spent his time in Hollow Zero looking for any living human, but mostly found death and decay around him, until he met Flora, and went as far as to break his own embedded protocol to save her. That also does bring up another important question. Why did the system flag her as a high-risk target? Is this also related to the Helios Academy? Did the government and defense force flag anyone from Helios as the enemy? There's so many unanswered questions. Anyway, Seed Senior, being a big robot, taking in this child and teaching her what it means to be human is a very bittersweet tale, as he knew he didn't have long but wanted her to appreciate the life she had been granted. Like, it doesn't have that much substance, as it's mostly seen in one trailer and dialogue, but it manages to tug on the heartstrings due to how gentle Seed Senior is with his adoptive daughter, despite being a hulking chunk of metal. It also adds so much to the concept of intelligent constructs. Of course, we've known from the start that they're not mere robots, as Billy is one of the first characters we meet in Zenless. And we have characters like Qingyi, Banyue, Arya, and even NPCs like Elfie who add to the overall vibe or lore or whatever of intelligent constructs. But I think Seed Senior is even more special because he's a military construct. Someone you would expect to be more emotionless and made to follow orders. The fact that he too has so much personality just makes it feel like the intelligent constructs are just like the humans and Thyrans living in New Eridu. His message to Seed is so much more human compared to some actual humans we've met during our time in the last city on the planet. But I do think Seed and Seed Senior's story is a bit forgotten and maybe even neglected. It's not the fault of players, but more the way Zenless and other games in this broad gacha genre are designed. Patches come and go so quickly with big events, new characters, main story chapters, and character chapters who all have to basically fight for our attention and love. In the case of Seed, she landed right between Chapter 3 of Season 2, which gave us Orphe and Isolde's story alongside progression of the main plot and insane reveals, and the 4th chapter, which introduced the other members of Spook Shack and their tale. It feels like we didn't get time to sit with and almost process Seed's tragic story, because we in Pheathon move on so quickly. To be fair, this is a thing most of these games have, so I'm quite used to it at this point. But the waifu of the month formula does mean that some stories don't get the breathing room they deserve, as I feel like we could have spent more time with Seed to learn how she's doing after everything happened during her agent story. But all of this doesn't take away from the fact that Seed's story, in my opinion, is one of Zenless's best, as it combines personal tragedy, long-term mystery, and insane emotions, with a cute girl and a robot dad. Rest well, Seed Senior. We'll keep an eye on your daughter for you. But what do you think about Seed's story, and when do you think we'll see her again? Let me know in the comments below. A huge thank you to my 6-star poll member, Cassia Arcelio. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing or even becoming a member as well, as I post regular deep dives and reviews into the games that I love. I also try to live stream every weekend, so feel free to hop in to discuss the greater depths of gacha games.